The IDA programme, or in-depth assessment to give it its full name, has been progressing now for just over 2 years, which means that the HCA is about halfway through its programme. We understand that about 120 registered providers, or RPs, have now had an IDA, leaving around about the same number still to go. It's fair to say that it's an evolving process all the time. We know just very recently that the HCA have said that they're looking again at how they can better tailor the IDA to the complexity and the risks within specific RPs. For example, recently we know that they've undertaken a slightly lighter touch approach with some smaller organisations, sort of between 1 and 2,000 units, so less documents to be supplied and a lighter touch approach to the interviews. This is all part of them developing it as it goes, but also making sure that the HCA makes best use of its quite limited resources to get the best possible outcome from the IDA. Well, the process is evolving all the time. Some of the key things that have changed have been around, it's now much more of a thematic approach than it was at the beginning. So there's 5 or 6 themes, and those are what the HCA will then structure its questions around and when it comes in to do its interviews. The other thing that's changed is that approach to the interviews, the on-site work. Originally, individual members of the executive team were seen on an individual basis. Now, they're very much put into smaller groups and the interviews take place around the specific themes. Having said that, the chair of the RP is always interviewed on their own, not in a group, and that's kind of, there's good reason for that. But it has changed quite a bit since the very early pilots, to the extent that we've now got a client who was one of those pilots who has actually asked us to work with them to help them to get ready now in anticipation of them having a second IDA, because they realise that quite a lot has changed since they had their original pilot, and so they want to make sure that they're fully prepared and get it right the second time round. I think the other thing to say about IDA is that whilst in most cases RPs retain their what's generally G1, V1 status, there have been some notable exceptions to that, and IDA has actually uncovered some quite significant problems within the sector, which has resulted in significant downgrades to RPs being non-compliant and then having to either undertake a voluntary programme of improvement, or in some cases being effectively forced to merge with another organisation.